Ryan Showalter is a Leavenworth property appraiser whose backyard offers a nice view of Tumwater Mountain. Back in June, he was surprised to learn a new construction was underway on the top of that peak.
I was shocked at not having heard anything about it, and so when I looked into it and found out that it actually was happening, I felt that it was something that the rest of the community needed to be able to know about.
What was happening was construction of a 70-foot cross on top of Tumwater, on private land owned by Robert Johnson, owner of the Enzian Hotel and the luxury Post Hotel in Leavenworth. Work began that month with anchors going into the rock and an upright support put in place. Harry Hansen, a fellow Leavenworth resident and former Chelan County Sheriff's deputy, is among the members of a prayer group working with Johnson on the cross project. He says they took their cues from the 100-foot lighted cross on Wenatchee Heights. Randy Smith, the builder and operator of the Wenatchee Cross, gave advice to the Leavenworth group.
It seemed only logical to place a cross up on Tumwater Mountain or somewhere where it could be seen by people coming into Leavenworth and people visiting Leavenworth and some people living in Leavenworth. Some of our values are being challenged that really were the basis for our country. Instead of putting God first, we now are putting a lot of emphasis on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to where right is wrong and wrong is right. And so we thought it was time to stand up for what we believe in.
Showalter started an online petition on change.org, objecting to the project and asking that it be submitted to Chelan County's permitting process. It's gathered almost 1,600 signatures.
The thing that concerned me most about it was that it seemed to be happening without anybody knowing about it. It didn't seem like a proposal to me. It sort of seemed like something that was happening without anybody in the community really knowing about it. I was really uncomfortable with that aspect of it.
The county's community development director, Dina Walter, said not only was the work taking place without a permit, the cross would also qualify as a sign under the county code, and without a variance, its height would need to be limited to just 30 feet.
I've looked at the code, and I can't see where they're coming up with a sign out of this thing at all. No definition in the code comes even close to the cross.
Hansen put in the necessary paperwork on Wednesday to apply for a county permit, but the case has already gone to the Chelan County Sheriff's Code Enforcement Office to review it for permitting violations.
It seemed only logical to place a cross up on Tumwater Mountain or somewhere where it could be seen by people coming into Leavenworth and people visiting Leavenworth and some people living in Leavenworth. But it really was based on things that are happening here in Washington State and nationally, where some of our values are being challenged that really were the basis for our country. And I don't want to get into a lot of politics, but it seemed like instead of putting God first, as our founding fathers did, we now are putting a lot of emphasis on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to where right is wrong and wrong is right. So we've noticed that manifests itself in a lot of things within our daily lives. And so we thought it was time to stand up for what we believe in. And I think that many of the people here in Chelan County and neighboring counties, and certainly in north central Washington, share most of our views that in God we trust, God bless America, those sort of things. And we'd like to emphasize those things again and let people know that there are many, many people that share those values. So we thought a cross would be a good way of representing our Creator's, the Son, Jesus' sacrifice that he made for all of us, and to provide us with peace and his love and redemption. So that's a lot of forgiveness there. So that's what we believe, and that seems to be the logical way to go. If you don't believe that, there's very little in life to look forward to in the future. As we get older, we look back in our lives and we've made mistakes, some bad mistakes. We're human, and things we regret. But I think the good Lord is with us the whole time because he created us. And it's time for him to, if we seek him, to forgive us for those things. And this is really a symbol of hope, overlooking what Leavenworth has been characterized as the city of light. It's now recognized as the nationally, as well as within the state, as the the city that's most sought after for tourist attraction. It's the biggest attraction in the country, and we can see that by the number of people that attend a lot of our festivals. And we've come to love this town because of our roots are here. We love the people that are here. So it's out of that love that we would like to put across up here and do that.
Who are the other members of the group?
Well, I'm not going to name names, but I can tell you this. They're laborers, they're foresters, they're loggers, they're carpenters, they're plumbers, they're electricians, they're orchardists, they're teachers, you name it. And they gave their lives to this community, and this is why this community has grown as it has. So
all Leavenworth folks or folks from other communities as well?
Yes, I honestly believe that people in Cashmere love Leavenworth. We love Cashmere. Peshastin, Dryden, Plain, Lake Wenatchee area. We've all worked and lived in these areas, and we're still here.
What do you think it's going to cost for the project to get completed?
That I don't know. I'm not a builder, and we're leaving that to the men that have volunteered to do the work. And I think that because of our website, that enables us to garner the donations from people all over the country to donate the monies that are needed. I think the good Lord's going to take care of that. It's not an enormous project. It's a small project.
It's a 70-foot.
It is a 70-foot structure, but if you see it, it is like a needle. It's a small little structure that is sticking up out of into the sky. But if number one, I don't think you can see it from your house. Many of the people here, particularly the ones that have done the complaining and have signed a petition and promoted a petition, can't see it from their home at all. And yet it's been forwarded by the gentleman that put the petition together that we should be afraid of this because it's going to be shining lights in our backyard and interfering with our sleep. The cross is going to have lighting that just lights the cross. It's not shining light out to that. And I think the cross is 70 feet tall. It's on a very large mountain that has the elevation of 4,000 feet and runs north and south about 2 miles. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. If you don't know where it is, you really have to look. And that's during the day. So it's not an obstruction of the views of this beautiful valley. And at night, it's only going to be on for a few hours, a couple of hours at a time. And So if you don't, I mean, you even have to look for it to see it at night. And it's like looking for a star. You know, it's going to be hard to find. So that's my answer to that question.
If it's only visible a few hours a night and as you say, not intensely visible from throughout the valley, does that really get your message across? Because it sounds like you were wanting it to be seen, this to be something that was seen by the whole community.
Right, it is, but unfortunately the angles and whatnot don't accommodate that completely. However, it does accomplish our goal, because if you go into town, you will be able to see it if you know to look for it at night. And also, there's a lot of people that live up on Ski Hill Drive, out on North Road, certainly Highway 2 from the Big Y. You'll be able to see it. And there's portions that even on the highway from past Kashmir, you'll be able to see it in Dryden.
Mr. Johnson is the landowner. Is he a member of the group that's forwarding this?
Rob Johnson certainly is supporting us in this effort. He wanted to do this, but he's not officially a member of the group. He's a friend. I've known him for years.
The permitting became an issue in front of the county board last week, and Ms. Walter, the director of community development, said that, you know, as far as her office was aware, no permits have been applied for the structure. And she says not only will it need building approval, but also it needs to comply with the sign code, which could restrict the lighting aspect if it were approved for construction. So are the permit applications in process now?
I can only say this, that I've looked at the code and I can't see where they're coming up with a sign out of this thing at all. No definition in the code comes even close to the cross. But aside from that, that's not my purview. I think that we wish that Mr. Johnson, and I know that Mr. Johnson will work in a very positive way with the Deanna Walters and that particular agency within the county to work out an amicable way of getting permitted one way or another, so that we fit into somehow what the laws are within the county. Make everybody happy.
Now, I know that some work has been done on the site prior to this. It started back in June, I think.
That's right.
To do some anchoring and some measurement, and there's there is or was part of a upright in place recently. So you may not know this, but why not go through the permitting process first? Why not make those applications first, or find out if a permit was needed?
Frankly, at that time, in all our naivety, we didn't, because it was on private property, we felt that it was within our rights to build that without having permits. We did check with FAA to make sure it's not sticking up in the air and causing problems for the airplanes, and we went through that process with them, and we're good with that. But as far as the permitting process, that's in Mr. Johnson's purview, and so we're leaving it at that.
Well, the best other example of a lighted high placement cross that I can think of is Mr. Randy Smith's cross.
Yes.
Down in the south end of Wenatchee, up on, gosh, what is the name of that particular abutment that he's got up there? It's up Number 1 Canyon, I guess. Was Mr. Smith consulted, or was he part of the effort?
Absolutely. He was the first person we contacted to get history on his cross and how they managed to build that, and because we love that cross. For years, the last 20 years, that cross has been up there, particularly at the holidays, the Christian holidays, Easter, and most certainly Christmas. When we do our Christmas shopping, it reminds us of what Christmas is all about. And that's why we like the idea of having something similar overlooking the City of Lights.
You said that you had looked at the code and that while Ms. Walter has cited the sign code as something that would govern the construction and operation of this, you say that's not applicable, or you don't believe it's applicable.
Well, that's just one man's opinion. Certainly, that's not my bailiwick, and my interpretation may not be correct. But as an individual, I fail to see how that possibly falls into that.
Do you know if the group has legal representation that might come forward and sort of negotiate with the county or offer its interpretation to the county?
We do not. However, I would imagine that's certainly available to Mr. Johnson, should he choose to do that.
If the cross is an expression of faith, is an expression of belief,
yes,
and the belief is firm in Christ the Savior, Christ the Redeemer, it sounds like it's trying to communicate an idea. So if it's communicating an idea, doesn't that fall under the definition of signage or of not advertisement in the sense you're trying to sell something, but you are trying to persuade?
No, I think it's more of a sign of hope. And it's not a sign, it's a symbol. And that's where I find it hard to put the word sign on it. It's not like, according to the code, it needed to represent a business that was trying to sell something. And we're not trying to change anybody's minds about how they feel about God or whether they believe or not believe. We respect other people's opinions and their thoughts. And we certainly do take that into consideration. The vast majority of the responses we've received on our website and Facebook and YouTube have been very, very positive. And we've gotten a lot of locals, but also people all over the state and out of state that are responding to this and supporting us. The negative responses that we've received have been anticipated. But I find that a lot of them are very, very aggressive, harsh, and a lot of obscene. I couldn't repeat the messages we've received. Profane, and I try to answer all of them and let them know we appreciate their response, and I would hope that they would watch how things evolve in this process to come to a better understanding, like the issues that Mr. Ryan Showalter purported in his petition. I've tried to take those issues and answer them in a fair and open way.
Were you surprised by the number of signatures that petition did receive, about 1,500 to this point?
Not at all. There's no residency requirement on this petition at all, and I don't doubt that there were a lot of people from the west side of the mountains that may or may not be people who like to recreate in the high country around here, but they're not necessarily residents of this community. And I think that's where most of the harsh, vindictive responses have come from.
You characterized, Harry, the Cross Project as, in some ways, a response to diversity, equity, and inclusion movements in the United States. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, I know what you're referring to, and I know the movement that is being characterized there, but those three things, many people would look at and say, aren't those Christ-like values? But it sounds like in the form that you see, the form that you identify, you take it as being adverse to Christian faith.
Well, I think that might be an underlying push. Not all of the people that respond are that way. I've gotten responses for people who are not believers at all, They don't believe in God, and they say that, but they believe in what we're trying to do. Well, in light of DEI, I wish it worked both ways, because I noticed the people that are really pushing that, you know, we see Black Lives Matter signs in our community. We see the LGBT flags and signs in our community. And we don't hate those people for that. We're not signing petitions to have them removed or have their homes removed or any of that. And when somebody builds a cell tower, we don't hear the people jumping up and down that that's ruining their view of our nature. And they're much larger than anything we're building and more disruptive. They're necessary. But when it comes to us, we'd like to be included. And so I just don't understand. It doesn't work both ways.
From a building perspective, do you have an end date when you think that structure might be completed?
Well, that's certainly up in the air right now, isn't it?
With regard to permits?
Yeah. Well, we're not going to disregard permits. I think that that's an important element that we want to comply to. And I have a feeling that this too will come about. But we would love to have it done before winter, and because it'd be a little difficult to work on it during that time. But pretty much this year, if we can.
Also, the Festival of Lights happens in December in Leavenworth.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's not a big structure. I want to emphasize that. It's not an obtrusive structure. If you don't want to look at it, you don't have to look at it. And it's going to be hard to look at it because it's so small.
Do you know how it's going to be powered?
Yes, it'll be solar powered. That's the only way we can provide the light. And so that's our goal, and that's where the big expense comes in.
And fiber optic lights are getting more and more efficient and less expensive all the time.
Well, the LED lights, yes, that's what we intend to use. And they put out a lot of light to make the cross be seen, but they're not the kind of light that throws light down into somebody's backyard like a searchlight in your window, not allowing you to sleep at night.
It's something you want to put up for the Leavenworth community. So was there outreach, talking to groups, talking to citizen representatives saying, we're working on this project and we want you to know about it and we want you to be comfortable with it? Was anything like that taken up before the construction began?
No, when I worked here, there were more churches in this little town than there were bars. And that really impressed me because where I came from, Los Angeles, that wasn't the case. So Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle have all been precursors of what could happen here. And I have been very cognizant of that. And so I am hoping that all the churches in this community will stand up and announce the support of this program. It's more of a feeling I've had for many years that this is a loving community, and we know each other and we love each other. We've gone to football games, baseball games, basketball games, and sat with each other, rang the cowbells and yelled for our team, and went to the proms, and these people went to school here, and their parents settled here. So it's got a real history. And these people we all know, we communicate with each other. Not all of them agree with this, but most of them do. And it's really a faith-based community.
I guess my question goes to the petition response and that kind of thing, the negative feedback.
Yes.
Do you think that could have been headed off or muted somehow if your group had gone to, say, the City Council, the Chamber of Commerce, other community groups, and said, we are working on this project and here's what we hope to do and here's what you need to know about it?
Well, very possibly. I think the the petition is kind of an anomaly compared to what the rest of the community believes. But certainly, in retrospect, that may have been a possibility to do, to maybe alleviate some of the fear that was generated, because this petition generated a kind of a fear that it was going to be too bright, too tall, ruin our wilderness, and so on, where those fears could be alleviated if they knew the facts.
Do you foresee yourselves doing any kind of outreach now that the question is out there in the public? Do you see yourselves going to the county commissioners, for instance, in a meeting and saying, here's what we want to do and we hope you approve? Do you see yourselves going to the city council and saying, here's what we want to do and here's the effect we think it will have on the community? Do you want to do anything like that?
Well, we're open to anything. We're not a big public entity, except for Christians. And it depends on how things evolve. I mean, we could get shut down, and that will be the end of it. If you want to look at all our alternatives, but this could evolve very nicely, and really connect with everyone in a way that's something that everybody's amenable to, and it gets built. And that's our prayer and our hope.
Well, it was sparked by a conversation that I had with a friend of mine who had gotten wind of it and was concerned about it, and they were reluctant to be the one to bring it up for a variety of reasons. Local business owner and actually not living in Leavenworth either. So when they mentioned it to me, I was shocked at not having heard anything about it, and so when I looked into it and found out that it actually was happening, I felt that it was something that the rest of the community needed to be able to know about.
About when was that, do you recall?
Oh gosh, boy, the last few weeks have been kind of strange. It was, let's see, I want to say about 4 days before the petition actually started, because we had to kind of ask around a little bit and make sure it wasn't just a rumor. God, I'm blanking on the dates, but it's been a couple of weeks now.
What was it about the proposal? What things about the proposal concerned you most?
Well, the thing that concerned me most about it was that it seemed to be happening without anybody knowing about it. It didn't seem like a proposal to me. It sort of seemed like something that was happening without anybody in the community really knowing about it. I was really uncomfortable with that aspect of it. Also the fact that I knew it couldn't be a permitted project, and that I felt that there really should be some public input regarding everybody should have been considered, was my thinking. So
was one aspect of it the fact that it's taking place in an undeveloped area?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, the fact that it's going up in a spot that is beautiful, pristine, untouched, and it's a fairly well traveled area. If you go up there, I mean, there's a parking area and people obviously go up there. The view is beautiful, and I understand the local paragliding community uses it as their takeoff area, and the family that owns it has been extremely gracious and extremely generous in allowing the public to use that property for what they do use it for, but I just felt like this was a little bit far-reaching.
So when you took to the internet, got on change.org, put forward the petition, and I haven't looked at it recently, but the response has been pretty large. Were you surprised by that?
I wasn't terribly surprised by it. I figured it would be something that sparked some reaction in people. I knew it was going to be a divisive issue, and I knew that everybody would have an opinion on it, so it didn't surprise me that there was a lot of signatures. I was a little surprised. In hindsight, maybe I would have liked to have found a way to address it that was a little more locally isolated a little more locally. There was a lot of people giving their opinions from outside the area. A lot of people that weren't going to be affected by it that were trying to give their opinion. And I know the county's been inundated with input from people, and I know it's been hard for them to sift through all the requests that they're getting, and they're getting requests from people that they don't feel are being affected by it. And I if there was a way to keep it a little more local, I in hindsight I might have looked for something else, but it did serve the purpose when it came to getting the word out. So, but I think it's run its course. I don't think there's any reason to. The petition is really not relevant anymore in my mind, anyway. So,
do you think there's a couple of ways this could go? This is not a city issue per se for the city of.
No, it's unincorporated Chelan County. Yeah.
So it does become, at least according to the county, a building permit and a sign code issue.
Correct.
And the construction's already begun.
In my opinion. Of course, if you listen to the chatter on the internet, there's people claiming that it's not a sign, and then other people claiming that it is. And I think that's been the tough issue with the county, is they have to set aside the religious aspect of it and just treat it as a building code case. And I'm perfectly willing to let them do that, for sure.
Would you foresee yourself, and I'm not quite 100% on how building code issues go forward, sometimes I think there is a hearing process where the public can give their input. Would you see yourself giving further input to the county on this?
Oh, sure, absolutely. If they wanted my opinion, I'd be happy to give it, for sure. I feel like that was the biggest reason that I wanted this brought forth in the first place, was so that people could give their input on it and make sure that it was, if it was done, that it was done legally, so.
We talked a little bit about the issue of whether it's falls under the definition of a sign because of or separate from its religious significance. It doesn't sound to me like the religious implication of the cross is your motivation for the petition.
No, definitely not. Yeah, it doesn't matter what they were going to put up there. I wouldn't, I have joked in the past that they could be putting a 70-foot tall monument to me up there, and I still wouldn't want it there. So it really, and I've had a lot of people a lot of people on the internet make assumptions about my religious beliefs and my political affiliations and all that stuff. It's funny how people can pigeonhole you based on how you feel about one issue. But no, the religious part of it really is not. I would say the only aspect of it that is religious, that touches on religion to me, would be if other people around town found it unwelcoming. It's not, I don't have that reaction to it, but I'm sympathetic to other people who might,
So from this place where you're sitting, the angle that you're sitting at, you suspect you'd be able to see this monument?
I'm looking right at it. When I look up above your head, I can see it from here. It's at this point, without it having been completed and not lit up, it's a little bit tough to pick out with the naked eye. It's just a sort of a pinpoint on top of the mountain at this point, but I hope it will not get any farther without the proper permits in place.
Do you have any optimism? Maybe optimism is not the right word, but any reason to think that the permits won't get awarded, that this would not be a legal construction?
I would speculate and say that I can't see a permit being issued for it without a whole bunch of exceptions being made, just because of the zoning of the property and because of the the guidelines and all the things the hoops that would have to be jumped through in order to. If I understand things correctly, there's environmental agencies that need to be involved. Potentially the FAA may need to be involved. There's a whole bunch of aspects of this, the engineering aspects, all those things I don't believe have been addressed at all. So I think that all that stuff has to be addressed before it moves forward any farther. And that was my hope. I wanted it, if it was legal and it was going and it had gone through all the proper due process and all that stuff, then I can't say that I would like it being right there, but I certainly would be willing to live with it if it were legal.
What do you like? Maybe let me back up and see this. Here in Leavenworth, it's very bright and busy at the center, but it's also surrounded by these rings of, by and large, undeveloped and very scenic mountaintops,
yes,
ridge tops. And I assume that that's the view you're used to without a...
Yes, it is the view. It is the view we're used to, and we love the view the way it is. And I've also said several times that if this were something that had been here for decades and was part of the landscape and part of the history of the place, then I would have never brought it up. This was not my intention to have something already in place removed. My intention was just to keep that mountain the way it is. And I've had other people approach me wanting to tie this in with the cross in Wenatchee, and frankly, I told them I don't live in Wenatchee. It's not up to me to tell the folks in Wenatchee what they should or should do, and frankly, that one was there before I was here, so I don't feel it's my place to speak on that one. So,
and it just seems like the main thrust of your petition, which again was joined by a number of people, was just sort of an accountability question.
Yes.
You know, should this be going up without any say from anybody in the communities affected by it?
It felt like it was. I don't think there was any ill will involved, but it did sort of feel like it was kind of going up in secret, and I was uncomfortable with that. I felt like it needed to go through the due process, and I honestly felt that if it did, it would have a hard time making it through the due process, and therefore I was very confident that there was no permits involved when I set out, and I turned out I was right. It wasn't very hard to ascertain that that was the case. So,
is there anything else I didn't ask about this situation, Ryan, that you think I should know or that people should be aware of?
oh boy, I don't think so, really. I think that at this point, it's in the county's hands. You know, I mean, at this point, it's up to them to decide how to proceed, and nothing happens overnight with the county. And I think that a lot of folks around here that are very up in arms, for lack of a better term, a lot of people are very alarmed by it, and I think that the emotion it sparked in a lot of people has made them impatient. And I would just say that I hope people can just sort of let the county work through their process, and we'll see how it goes from there, because they've been the folks at the county I've talked to a few of them, and they've been having a tough time down there fielding all this stuff too. So I'm very confident that they are working on it, and I hope that we can cut them some slack for a little while.